I'm just gonna get right into it. So sorry, I haven't been able to record these in a while. I've recently moved, so I've been pretty busy. Hopefully, at least for the next few weeks, I should be able to get some videos going. I've had two events since I last streamed. An event down in Riverside and one over in Beloit. They're also working on some big changes to Bigfoot, and I have a second bot in the works. And today we're going to talk about the event that was in Riverside. Next week I'm going to talk about the event that happened in Beloit. Both of those happened this month, 2 weeks apart, but it's been 2 weeks since the most recent one, so I'm pretty behind, as I mentioned. And then once I get done covering those events, I'm going to go over the changes I made to Bigfoot since they're pretty substantial. I'm basically swapping out all of the electronics in it, which will give us a much more drive power, make us a little bit faster. And hopefully after that, um, I might be able to talk about the new bot I'm working on. We'll see how far along I am in that by the time that gets going. And hopefully by the time I do the video on the changes to Bigfoot, I'll have at least be done making them. My printer was down for a couple of weeks, so I'm behind on that as well. But let's go over this event. This was the event RSL Riverside. Their events are normally in Minnesota, but they came down to Illinois to host an event. It's a little bit smaller event, but they put on a good show. This is Modified Swiss, and this was our first fight against Scrubba, a vertical spinner. Traditionally, we've had quite a bit of trouble. Let's just get it started. I'm not going to play the audio real loud because it's how I recorded it and ended up doubling the audio. So we kind of lock horns a lot in the middle. I have more pushing power than he does, but and we kind of going back and forth. We changed the fork so there's only two of them, so so the verticals seem to be able to get their licks in. Here he damaged the base plate, basically with that hit, having it come completely off. It's just held on by the top screw. Things aren't looking good. I also need to make changes so we can flip over better. You can see that you can almost see our battery because that's where the ESC is. That's what that light is. That's what's controlling the robot. Here's where his weapon goes down. He is actually having ESC troubles, and during the fight, the belt on the weapon got twisted, which caused his ESC to overheat for his weapon, the speed controller for the weapon, and that essentially made it forced it to go down. He actually had to forfeit the next two matches because of it. And so from here, we basically are able to control the match. Since we are a little bit speedier and we definitely have a little bit more torque behind us too. And I typically have pretty good control. In our flipper, it's mostly functional, which we have in our favor. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up doing anything about the horizontals taking chunks out of our wedge. There's not much I can do about that. I would have to kind of change the geometry of it, but yeah, we actually, man, I'm surprised he actually didn't take any tires. Oh, never mind. There was one tire that came off. We actually somehow, yeah, we get high centered at the last second, but we actually managed to win that fight, which was incredible when you consider the fact that that damage to the front, that one of the changes that I'm making will make it so it's less likely to happen. Essentially, that front wedge will be attached. It will be more secure than that. But overall, we kind of got lucky there. But luckily, did well enough that I could capitalize on that luck. So we're going to go on to our next fight. This is our second fight. This is actually against a necessary evil kit driven by a little girl. So it's basically just a control match. There's no weapons, so no matter what happens, I'll be fine. I went with the old forks, as you can see on this one, because I wasn't worried about them taking damage. A big thing about going to the 2 forks is that the old forks would get bent up, but since it's a control bot, I didn't bother with that. Pretty much I was able to outdrive her most of the match. I was able to get around. I think she got a couple pins in here, but yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of compromised drive partway through, which kind of helps. The wheel just kind of randomly came off. In the changes I'm making, the shafts are going to be longer for the motors, so hopefully the wheels will come off less frequently when I don't want them to. Overall, just kind of like not staying off of her forks, kind of getting around. We're pretty low to the ground, so we end up winning a lot of the time. And I'm also able to do a better job of facing them. I think partway through I kind of kept forgetting to use my flipper, but I didn't feel the need to use the flipper because they can drive upside down, but I guess I should have tried harder to flip them over because that way it's harder to drive if they're upside down because you have to get used to it. But we ended up winning the judge's decision because we kind of controlled that whole match. We had more pins that we got underneath them more. So overall, we're doing pretty good. Now we're going to the third round of the qualifiers.
Let's see it.
At this point in time, we just need one more win to qualify for the single elimination. We had to fight Nosferatu at battlebots a couple months before this in March, and we lost against them. It was much closer that time, but since then, Nosferatu added a anti-control configuration, and so we're just with the smaller arena, we were not able to get a good angle on them. Seems like with this new configuration he has, that the front to front interactions they keep getting the most of, and we're just sort of getting pushed around. I think we can beat Nosferatu, but trying to be careful, trying to not get stuck in the corner. I think that's what happened too often during this fight. I kept getting stuck in the corner.
This Bigfoot apparently has 4 feet. It's a little confusing.
We can get underneath them. We're just not quite able to do it. Yeah, once we're down to 2 wheels, we not much we could do. I'm basically just in survival mode at this point. Yeah, he definitely wants blood. He wants to knock us out. He was not quite able to do it in this match. He came pretty damn close. The new changes will also make it so Bigfoot will be able to drive upside down. In addition, our new configuration, we won't necessarily be able to self-right easier, but we will be able to drive upside down. We had 1 tire left, but yeah, that was not a great fight. We ended up losing that one, obviously. We took a lot of damage. We weren't able to get nearly as much control as I would have liked. But yeah, he's got some long forks. But yeah, I think with the smaller arena, it's kind of hard to go against the bots like that and get control. He was able to push us around. But I need to figure out how I'm going to consistently beat vertical spinners because that seems to be where we have the trouble. So at this point, we're 2-1. We need one more win in order to qualify for the single elimination. And so here I'm out to get any win I can. It's a full body spinner. Lawnmower of Chaos used to not be that great, but they've had their weapon a lot more consistent. So that's how so they're going in this fight 2-1 as well. Just smothering them this whole fight. Not able to quite spin up. Just kind of make it so they can't quite spin up. Yeah, the motor isn't quite able to have enough torque to spin or something. It's kind of getting caught up. And so I just kind of, since it's, do or die at this point, I waited until after the count out to self-right them. So it was a relatively easy win. We didn't take too much damage. But going into the single elimination bracket, we had to fight Sunshine of Death again. This time, her dad was the one driving, so I'm having to fight a pastor. Honestly, I think by this point, the arena took a whole lot of damage, so the forks, you'll see we get stuck a lot on them, a lot more than before, and more than they do because we have a lot sharper of forks. But wheel randomly coming off again. But yeah, we are kind of struggling here. Later on, we're able to just start getting underneath them more once I get used to the arena. Yeah, you got some pins in early. Kept getting stuck with those damn forks. But yeah, damn, I didn't realize how bad that first minute was for us. I'm kind of worried at this point. But then here's kind of where it turns around. Able to push him up against that wall. Now getting around the side of him a few times in a row. It's able to break out of the pin, so it's not quite as good. Doesn't quite look as good for him. Cinch down. Oh, and this is where I think he doesn't quite have the same amount of drive because he's struggling to drive forward. Just sort of sneak underneath him. Clamp him in the gripper. Kind of move around the arena. I need to be able to do stuff like that a lot quicker because I think my remote isn't quite as accurate as I need it to be. Because I think being able to make those changes a lot quicker will help me in those fights against vertical spinners. But we ended up winning. I think it's because I controlled the second half a bit more, and that was a little bit fresher in their minds, which actually was enough to get us to the semifinal fight against Midnight. This fight was pretty brutal. This guy, I ended up kind of having a false start. Wait, no, it was a different fight. But yeah, this guy ended up winning the tournament, but here we have a lot of back and forth. I don't remember if I mentioned this on stream, but I did try printing a titanium plate in the front wedge for against horizontals, and you can see that came flying out on both wedges. So yeah, I think that compromised the wedge. So there wasn't much wedge actually doing its job at this point. It'd been better if it's just straight rubber. We were struggling to like be able to get in. We were getting the best part of a lot of these exchanges, but we weren't struggling to be able to capitalize on them. He went flying all over the place though. Yeah, we actually did pretty well. It was actually a pretty close fight. I was able to get a few pins in, and a lot of the hits kind of sent him flying, but We end up losing a bit too many tires throughout this. I think we lose one more. I think we end up finishing with 2 tires. Yeah, because one gets stuck in the weapon. Unfortunately, since it was a tire stuck at the end of the match, they took it out to see if his weapon still worked, and it worked, so I didn't end up getting damage points for that. And here, I think since my drive is entirely too compromised, I'm not able to capitalize on it, on the fact that he doesn't have a weapon. I think maybe if I'd either the front 2 or back 2 instead of the angle, I might have been able to get enough pins in order to come out with the win, but I wasn't quite able to do it. So he ended up winning the judge's decision, but that was a pretty close one. And so then from there I have to fight for third. And so this was against Kingslayer. This is a scalar kit. Scalar kits have been doing pretty well, but Kingslayer by this point had been pretty struggling to repair. So I think their weapon was pretty compromised by this point. So they end up getting stuck. I kind of get close just in case because it looked like they were going to come down. They don't end up falling down before the count out is, and it was kind of a weak count out, so everybody in the crowd was kind of confused. But yeah, we ended up winning that fight, obviously, by knockout. So we end up getting 2 knockouts at the event. The final record ends up being 5-2. So that was pretty good. It was our best event yet, even including the next event, spoiler. But yeah, we ended up getting third, so we actually came home with the trophy. I forgot to actually put a picture of the trophy on here. I'll probably have it in the thumbnail though. I'll be sure to do that once I upload the YouTube. Once I upload this to YouTube, I'll be sure to add the trophy in the thumbnail. But thank you to anyone who tuned in on Twitch. And thank you to whoever's tuning in on YouTube. I posted some of the fights already on TikTok. I don't know how many I'll end up posting, but I'm debating whether or not I want to post the videos to YouTube Shorts. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, have a good day. And I'll catch you guys later. I'll try to stream more in the future. So, but I guess I'll see you guys next week.